Now, remember yesterday the EFF called on Professor Helen Rees to resign. It's been very critical of the regulatory body SAHPRA because it has not yet approved a Chinese or Russian vaccine. SAHPRA is saying that the Russian vaccine is still being assessed, information still coming in on that, and it only received information from the vaccine manufacturer in with regards to the Chinese vaccine this very week. Well, last night a health expert on this show asked why police did not break up that march to SAHPRA's offices, a potential super spreader event, the EFF's march to the regulator. And we do hear now that the SAPS is planning to lay a criminal charge against the EFF for convening that march during a pandemic. SAPS spokesperson Colonel Brenda Muridili joining me now. Thank you very much. Can you tell us, has a charge been laid?
Good evening, Francis. Yes, I can confirm that a case has been opened with the Sunnyside Police Station, but at this stage there hasn't been any charges that have been. The charge that is the main charge now is the contravention of the Disaster Management Act, but there's also a possibility of more charges that are being introduced. For now, there is an investigation on the part of the investigators to ensure that they present to court a watertight case.
Okay, so there needs to be a charge first, even though it's the police laying the charge and the police who will investigate the charge.
Yes, there is now the overarching charge of the contravention of Disaster Management Act, because as everybody has seen with the march, there were the number of people that participated in the march were more than the required number as in the regulations.
Yeah. Well, people were questioning why the cops weren't out in force yesterday. We saw many people not wearing masks, gathering, and that was an unsanctioned march. Firstly, let's clarify that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Colonel, I'm just clarifying. The EFF had no permission to march to SAHPRA's offices yesterday, correct?
That the permission part, Francis, whether the organizers of the march have permission or do not have permission, us as law enforcement are obligated to ensure that the march is being policed. So what we did yesterday, yes, before the march convened, during the week, the police met with the conveners of the march and they outlined where they're going to convene, which routes they're going to take, and all that. And also they also spoke to the conveners that they appealed to them to ensure that the people that are at the march are not more than 100, and that those people that are participating in the march do adhere to the health protocols. But like I've already mentioned, the number was above the number that was agreed upon and the number as stipulated in the regulations.
Yeah. So way above. How many people attended yesterday? Do you know?
They estimate more than 2,000.
Okay, so there was permission given for a march of 100 people. 2,000 pitched up yesterday. Cameras were there. This was widely publicized. Why did the police not break it up?
I need to rectify the part of permission. People do not need permission to march. The police do not give permission for people to march. Anyone who wants to exercise their right to protest is allowed to do that, with or without permission, but people do not need to get permission. So I need to clarify that.
Okay.
And with regards to why police did not disperse the people as they saw that they were many, like you said, the police officers that were on the ground were hoping to police a march of 100 people. But then contingency plans were put in place to ensure that should the people be more than that, then the police had to decide on how they're going to go forward. But then what they did yesterday is they decided to let the people continue with the march, go to their destination, hand over the memorandum, and then peacefully disperse.
Yeah.
And thereafter, a report has been compiled and a case has been opened. And like I said, that case is still under investigation. As and when the police have a solid case, they will approach the court so that the case can be put on the court roll, and the people that convene the march have to answer to what the contravention of the Disaster Management Act.
Colonel, some people see this as patently unfair. There are people being pulled over. It's illegal, so I guess they can be arrested for not wearing a mask. There are people contravening lockdown regulations in South Africa and receiving criminal records. Now, in broad daylight, on camera, on public television, broadcast live, we saw, I would say, hundreds of people not wearing masks, and not one of them was even spoken to by a police officer. So you're saying the decision was to basically stand by?
No, that's not what I'm saying. And with regards to people being arrested, I can assure you that the only person who's being arrested for not wearing a mask is the person who is approached by a police officer or any other law enforcement officer or peace officer and asked to wear a mask in a public space and they blatantly refuse to do so. That's when the police are going to arrest that person. But when the police approach a person who's not wearing a mask and request the person to put on a mask, then if that person complies, they're not going to arrest the person or give the person a fine. So with regards to what you saw what you saw, and the police on the ground were on the ground. I cannot say that they did not approach the people who were not wearing the mask because I was not there. But what I know is the police were there, they were observing what is happening, and as I've already mentioned, they have written a report, and on that report, they're going to determine which charges are going to be put against the convener of the march, because we cannot arrest multitudes of people and put them behind cells for not wearing masks or for not complying.
Colonel, was it not viable once 2,000 people had gathered in close proximity in clear contravention of the regulations? Was it not viable to stop the EFF, who you're now investigating, from addressing those people? And then they would have gone home. Was it not viable to stop the political part of it?
You are saying it like we are dealing with a normal situation here, and situation that has been tested before. We have to look at it from different angles. You looking at the police asking the conveners of the march to disperse and them peacefully doing so. We are also looking at the possibility that should we ask them to do that and they become violent, how are we going to handle the situation? We did not want to find ourselves in a situation where the police will have to use force on people that were resisting or not complying with an instruction that they should disperse. So like I said, it was decided based on the merits of what was happening on the day that it was better to let the people to continue with their march, do what they set out to do, and then a case then be opened, and those that convene the march then will have to answer for the contravention of the Disaster Management Act.
If found guilty, what could happen to EFF leaders now?
I did not say that the people that are going to be charged are EFF leaders. I said that the conveners of the march.
Okay. What could happen to the conveners of the march?
If charged, then the court will determine what is the sanction. We take the case to court and the court decides what is the sanction.
All right. Thank you for your time tonight. That was Police Spokesperson Colonel Brenda Muridili.